We've heard that masturbating is perfectly normal, but to what extent and how often can you do it without it being considered an addiction? What if you can't stop? Let's address these concerns and explain why you should give up this seemingly normal habit today. Before we get started, I apologize for the overly dramatic title, but I felt compelled to bring attention to this 21st century problem that weakens and harms all of our adults and children, leaving us without willpower. In this video, you'll learn what Stoicism has to teach us about this vice and what science has to say about it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell to ensure you don't miss anything. The history of masturbation. Let's start with the fact that modern medicine makes it very clear that masturbation is completely normal, even in humans and other animals. However, this view of normal masturbation was not always held. In the past, women were thought to be less likely to engage in masturbation because it was seen to be immoral and could distance them from men by causing them to find pleasure on their own. To this moral burden, there was also the physical burden that masturbation caused diseases, making it unnecessary to engage in it. But let's go back to the present. What is known about masturbation, particularly in males who have sleeplessness? It is known to cause slumber, which is the issue. The male brain deactivates sexual desire after an orgasm, according to research from the French Institute of Health and Medical Research. The cerebral cortex, which is responsible for conscious thought, goes to rest once the man reaches climax. This, in addition to negating the desire to continue having sexual relations, also facilitates sleep, which is why many men fall asleep after engaging in sexual activity. But what's the problem? Well, hidden in one of its benefits is a trap, and if you watch this channel often, you'll see what I mean when I say that masturbation releases dopamine, the hormone that makes us feel better by reducing stress and promoting a sense of reward. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders states that dopamine is produced by dopamine and is so enjoyable that some people develop an addiction to it. Excessive masturbation falls under the category of obsessive-compulsive disorder, which is another vice that can cause mental and familial destruction. In many cases, this leads to a lack of self-control, a state in which you become a slave to yourself and a victim of your own lack of control. This is because, as we saw in a previous video, excessive consumption of pornography and relationships with prostitutes are ways that a dopamine-saturated brain finds pleasure. Pay attention. The addiction to masturbation arises from chemicals released in the brain, and as our brain adapts to the release of these chemicals, it feels the need to continuously locate the codes that produce the stimulation. This reaches a heightened level when your brain detects that your dopamine release is excessive and starts to block receptors in an attempt to stop you. As a result, the person engages in the pleasure act. In this case, they masturbate excessively to satisfy their hunger for pleasure, which irritates them even more than they were before. At this point, you must be wondering what Stoicism has to do with this. Stoics never stop eating chocolate until they throw up. Seneca's Stoicism, from the teachings of Epicurus to the private musings of Seneca, Marcus Aurelius and Panis of RHSM, masters of self-control and wisdom, addressed the view of pleasure and lust from a unique perspective, delving into the depths of human passions, a legacy of the Stoics that continues to enthrall us. In their worldview, masturbating was not only a means of achieving sexual pleasure, but also a chance to test the boundaries of the body and mind. It was an exercise in self-awareness and a route to true liberation. Gaining control over materialistic desires and pleasures was a victory that uplifted human spirit. Epicurus claimed that in this context, a good man is not defined by his capacity for pleasure-seeking, but rather by his ability to exercise self-control. When someone reaches a greater degree of self-awareness, mastery, while comprehending and containing it, makes a difference. Rather than being our desires' slaves, we must be their masters, as Serbian philosophy teaches us. From a Stoic perspective, every action has consequences for both us and the natural order of the universe. When we give in to our most intense desires, as in the case of uncontrollably masturbating, we lose that harmonious relationship with ourselves. Similarly, Stoic reflection on masturbation is not just about repression, but also about deep understanding and self-mastery, which translates into the ability to direct our emotions toward a journey of conscious self-explanation. Consequences: we become prisoners of our desires. The Stoics strongly value their connection to nature. Slipping from the real inner calm. Compulsive masturbation can set off an emotional chain reaction in which shame, remorse, and discontentment become our constant companions. The Stoics encourage us to find inner peace within ourselves, but they also teach us how to control our intense emotions through perspective and self-regulation. By consciously facing our emotions, we learn to manage them healthily and constructively. Sincerity and virtue-driven simplicity are the keys to true satisfaction. Permit me to tell you a personal motivational story. Motivational narrative. After immersing themselves in Stoic teachings and practicing self-control and self-regulation, the person I know who struggled with compulsive masturbation, seeking momentary refuge and pleasure, but facing an emotional storm after each act, underwent a profound transformation. They learned to confront their desires and emotions, consciously finding true joy and self-control. They now live a life of inner peace and authenticity, free from the slavery of momentary desires. Living in accordance with our core beliefs and values leads to true fulfillment, because when we give in to transient cravings, we lose sight of our true ideals in life, which includes compulsive masturbating. Conclusion can pull us away from our noblest goals and derail us from the inner peace and true happiness found in virtue. However, by engaging in mindfulness and meditation practices, we can cultivate the mental serenity required to withstand temptations and deal with our emotions in a healthy way. This compulsion then becomes an impediment to mental serenity, pulling us into regrets and diverting us from the inner peace and self-control found in moderation and self-control. Ation. My friend, what are you doing with your life? Do you really think that watching those videos at home while playing with your hands will make you successful and confident? Do you really think that after wasting your time and energy on such nonsense, you can attract women? If so, do you also think that you can attract men? If not, please write in the comment section below. I want you to think carefully and to say, I'm a powerful person. I have control over my mind. I choose to do what motivates me. Thank you for staying with me. To see more videos, please subscribe and like this one.